All right. Welcome back, my regular viewers, listeners, and watchers. And of course, if you happen to be here for the very first time, welcome. Before I go any further, my name is Rahul George, India's premier eye hypnosis coach and your personal guide. So, as I was getting ready for today's pod and kind of reflecting on the many different topics that typically are either triggered by something that's happened in the day, or maybe I had a session with my students, and that sort of typically gets me thinking about the topic for the day. And today, for a change, as I was getting ready, for a moment there was silence, and I didn't really hear any particular topic until as I started to kind of hear the words forming in my mind. Um, what popped up was language of the heart. So for those of you who've been following along now for a while, you know that I talk about resilience, I talk about persistence, I talk about perseverance very, very often. And of course I also talk about community. Like, these are some of my one is, of course, I should say, favorite topics, but these are definitely topics that I relate to, topics that I know that you as a healer coach, this is something that you're also thinking about, you're going through, you're battling those inner demons. Like yesterday we were talking about the legend of Sisyphus, and basically a lot of times it feels like you're rolling a rock up the hill only to have it roll back onto you. But there's always life beyond that. So it was more of a positive spin than sort of feeling that you're cursed and doomed. So as I was preparing for today's pod, what came to me, like I said, language of the heart, is in the context that um, have you, or do you pause from time to time to just kind of reflect on your language? Do you sound like somebody who's a pragmatist, who's very, very practical, very sort of, let's say, numbers driven? Everything is, it must happen like this, it should happen like this. Or do you notice that more often than not, your language is about hope, is about belief, is about, um, the dream that, something like the miracle will happen. So, if that is, if you're more in the second sort of state of being, which is you're driven more often with these ideas of a lot of times impossibility, some may say impracticality. But if you know that this is what is giving you the fuel to keep showing up, no matter how many times you fail, no matter how many times you lose sight of why you even started, or when you feel beaten, or you feel like you know it's like the world has discarded you, it doesn't matter, because the reason why I'm reminding you about all of this is that if you truly have that belief, and it comes from your heart, it's not from a purely practical space. It's something which is sort of like it's been handed down to you, it's been given to you, and it's sort of like your um, magnum opus, your work of art that you're tending to, and you're building and building. And so of course there will be cycles of birth and death, or birth, life, and death. But it's, and of course sometimes there are moments when you want to give it all up, when you want to just kind of chuck it and think of doing something else. But invariably you find yourself getting drawn back. So if these are like typical responses and reactions that you find yourself going through, then one is, I can tell you that you are still very truly on the right track. And provided you're able to build your networks over a period of time, provided you're able to build your community over a period of time, and of course you're able to find ways to, and I say find ways as in you're either looking for them, or you're allowing those ways to show up in your life, and that you're able to sustain, even if you're not able to prosper in the typical senses of the word, which means it could be in, let's say, if you're, especially as a healer coach, you're, we talk a lot about billing, we talk about, how well your funnel is doing. Like those are things that until they click, it's a dream. Until they click, it's a fantasy that you hope for, you wish for coming true in your life. So as long as you're willing to balance the two, which means that you're finding ways to stay in the game, and you're willing to, because it's coming from a much deeper place within you, or connection to the divine, that you just keep showing up and you keep doing the work, even through the high tide and the low tide, even through the ups and downs. As long as that is something that um, you're willing to take on, and that you keep taking on, I can promise you this, that there will come that moment where it all makes sense. And I don't just say this lightly. I know I've seen many moments like this in my life. I see it more and more, of course, today, because, like I said, I've been doing this now for close to 2 decades. And if I go back in time and I look at the environment the way it was 2 decades ago, maybe even 10 years ago, versus the way it is today, there's a lot more of us that are banding together, that are coming together, and of course collaborating. And that is how you build the marketplace, right? So when people collaborate, the marketplace has more energy, and therefore it's able to serve more people. So if you were looking for that one silver lining, this is it. So having said all of that, of course, remember to live with purpose. And I definitely look forward to seeing you in the next pod. Remember, these are daily pods. So I will, of course, be back tomorrow. And as I've said before, I do these sessions with the community twice a week on Mondays and Fridays at 6 p.m. So, if you're looking for a community of like minded people, people who truly believe in the power of healing and coaching, and in simple terms, you're a healer coach, and you're truly in that space right now, you're looking for community, definitely do come and join us. And like with any great product, come and sample it, taste it, and see if this is something that you really like. You're welcome to stay. And we have tons of programs. There are free programs, there are pre-recorded programs, and we've of course got live practitioner programs as well. So I definitely look forward to seeing you in one, or many, or all of them as time goes by. So looking forward to seeing you then. And of course, as always, have a truly fantastic day ahead, and an absolutely amazing year ahead too. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.